Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Drams. As always, I am your host, Matt Healy, and wherever you're joining us in from the world, welcome to our show, whether or not you're in the far-flung parts of East Asia to the few people watching in from Brazil, of course, across the continent of Europe, and of course, in closer to home, all across the island of Ireland, you are very, very welcome. I am delighted to have you here for episode 18, which is our April edition. Tonight, we have three very fantastic whiskies, which I am super excited that we're going to be able to talk about this evening, all doing different parts of moving and shaking within the Irish industry. I believe also this is the first time we'll have all female guests with us this evening. So it's great to have a new whiskies with us for the first time and some returning as well. So as always, let us know in the comments section where you are joining us from, where you are enjoying your whiskeys across the world. Of course, if you were lucky enough to get your 3 Drams kit in the post or in the mail, depending where you're from, this will be dropped directly to your door. 3 fantastic whiskies you can see lined up behind me here. Bringing you the newest and most interesting Irish whiskies all across the world. And of course, every month we sit down with the flavor makers and creators to talk about these whiskies and try them as well. This is your opportunity to talk to these makers and ask them the questions you've always wanted to ask about these whiskies and find out little tidbits of information, because it has been known once or twice that we do get to drop a few exclusives on the show here. And we're seeing people coming in from Sneem in West Kerry. We're seeing greetings from Martin in Limerick. Again, we have good representation from the kingdom. We're seeing folks coming in from Clare, from sunny California. I haven't seen Tala being named that for quite some time. Of course, for anyone who is watching at home, I do always want to say a very big thank you to the Donovan brothers and the team at Irish Malts, who put together and produce 3 Drams and ship over 1,800 packs all across the world every month to drop Irish whiskies to the doors of enthusiasts, novices, and industry professionals alike. So very big thank you to them. And of course, if you have subscribed, the end of every show, a special code will land right into your email inbox, which will give you discounts for all the whiskies you're tasting tonight individually, and together as a trio, so you don't need to miss out at all. I am seeing more representation from the kingdom, with Neil coming in from Tralee, and then of course we got Joseph coming in from Galway. So we have great representation across the island. I know we'll have Tina watching back in Germany, so ladies, do be ready. I'm going to ask you your availability in Germany. It's the one thing Tina always makes me ask, because of course we have such great fans in Germany, and we want to make sure that his representation is spread across the world. But tonight, as I said, we have 3 fantastic whiskies, and remiss, no one wants to hear me talk. So I'm going to bring in our first guest. I'm delighted to be joined by Lena Canning, who is the brand executive with the Irishman, Irish Whiskey and Walsh Whiskey. So Lena, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Matt. How are you? Thanks for having me, and hello to everybody.
Not a problem at all. I'm delighted to have you here. Your first time on the show, I believe.
It is.
But of course, many people would recognize your face. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do with Walsh Whiskey?
Yeah, well, I obviously joined Walsh about 3 years ago now, and I'm based in Dublin Airport. So whenever our lovely tourists are flying back, they can get to see myself and get to chat about the Irishman and Writer's Tears, and yeah, it's just a great industry to be in, and I suppose anyone who doesn't know who we are, Walsh Whisky, we're based in County Carlow. And it was established in 1999 by Bernard and his wife Rosemary. I suppose Bernard was on his quest to always had that passion for Irish whiskies, and always on the quest to find that perfect drop of Irish whiskey and something a little bit different, I suppose, as well, you know. And I suppose it started in 1999. But if people are not familiar, the first product was the Hot Irishman.
I see Martin saying he'll see you in the airport tomorrow.
Oh, very good, Martin. Yeah, you'll probably see me. You can see me in either terminals. I'll be either in T1 or T2.
Exactly. So sorry, yes, you started with the Walsh Whiskey started with the Hot Irishman.
Yes, that's in 1999, and then it proceeded on. Then I suppose at that point in Ireland, there's only 3 main distilleries, as we know, and Bernard has a long-term agreement with, I suppose, the Irish distillers and sourcing his premium liquid to his specification. And also, I suppose, to seek to find, I suppose, all his casks are selected by himself. So he's always flying out himself, heading off cask hunting. And I suppose 2007 was when we released the Irishman, followed by Writer's Tears. And I suppose what differentiate both is, I suppose, with the Irishman, we focus more on a single malt element, and in the Writer's Tears, we focus on the pot still element. So I suppose gives people an idea of, it keeps the two brands separate, but what brands have their own identity.
Exactly. Well, I want to jump in and just get some liquid in the glass first while you tell us more about the brand. We don't need to jump into the liquid quite yet, but I don't like leaving people too long without the liquid in the glass. So this is Dram number 1, Ever One. So I am a little hard there. So I've got this now, and so the Irishman, I suppose this is the harvest bottle we have here. I'll pull up the image as well in a moment. Fantastic bottle, brand new design. Both Writer's Tears and the Irishman have rebranded, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to pull up this image here so people can see it a little bit better. So a brand new label, bottle, cork, braille on the label, foils, embossed bottom, and absolutely phenomenal packaging in my opinion.
Yes, it is indeed. Yeah, and for people, I suppose, will know the harvest as formerly as the Founders Reserve until the revamp, and now it's called the Harvest. I suppose it's getting a little bit more personal from the field to the bottle.
Of course, yeah.
And this is a makeup of 70% single malt and 30% pot still. As we all know, pot still, which is our malted and unmalted barley. And it's aged and matured in hand-selected American oak bourbon casks as well. So you get that lovely, I don't know if you want to delve in, or we're just going to nose it, Matt. Or
I'm following your lead. I'm going to say something and we'll jump in, because the Founders Reserve or now the Harvest is definitely one of my champions of the Walsh whiskey range. I've a big draw for this. And I'm seeing a lot of people already delving in and enjoying it. So I'm gonna take a little sip, and why don't you tell us a little bit about it while we jump in?
It's again, it's a classic blend of 70% single malt and 30% pot still. So you'll get that wonderful peppercorn initial, that lovely pot still spice, but a lovely velvety vanilla notes on the palate.
Absolutely. There's a lot of fruit going on. There's nice sweetness, fruitiness.
Yes.
I like Mike saying a very perfumed smell. It's very aromatic, and it definitely jumps out of the glass, and it's very kind of fresh and vibrant and fruity.
And again, that's the ex-bourbon cask giving that lovely zesty notes, that lovely apples, pears, that wonderful fruity notes, you know.
Absolutely, kind of a little wood note at the back as well, kind of peppery, kind of wood spice, finishing off the palate as well. And this is 40% alcohol by volume, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 40% ABV.
And I suppose with the refresh, the repackaging, is this I suppose it's still the flagship of the Irishman range. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, yes, exactly. This is again, I suppose, the most iconic whiskey, really, you know. And this is a great introduction to the Irishman portfolio. So, you know, we always say start on the classic like this and work your way into all the different wonderful expressions we have, you know.
Absolutely.
And if somebody, I suppose, isn't used to Irish whiskey, I always find that the classic, like the Irishman Harvest, is a great introduction.
Yeah, the one thing I'll never get over about this whiskey is so pleasantly aromatic on the nose, and it always draws me into the glass. It is that, again, it's the kind of that underlying creamy caramel, light pepper, like white pepper, a little bit of spice, a lot of fruitiness.
There's definitely a lovely little bit of spice hit there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I'm liking this comment. Martin Purcell saying the Irishman was the whiskey that introduced him to the world of quality whiskey several years ago and never ceases to impress. The Harvest is whopper at its price point.
Absolutely. It's just such a great price point. And I said it's a wonderful introduction to the Irish whiskey category, you know.
And when you're meeting consumers, I suppose, in your role, is I presume it's a mix of all people who are familiar with Irish whiskey and new to Irish whiskey. And I presume this is a great launching point either direction, because it's so fruity, it's so aromatic. I mean, I'm reticent to call it a blend, but technically a blend of malt and pot still. It certainly doesn't drink like a blended whiskey to defy the bounds of that category, but absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And now, of course, the packaging uh, reflects the quality of the liquid within.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that Bernard wanted to make sure, I suppose, we get out there as well. It's how premium our bottle is. I suppose it's equally as premium as the liquid. And the bottle, it's beautiful. And if anyone knows, we now have a wonderful cork on our new bottling compared to our old screw top. So every little detail has been carefully selected and processed. Looks absolutely wonderful now.
Exactly, and I suppose the Walsh whiskey family is now, I suppose, expanding more worldwide, becoming a part of a larger global family. So I'm presuming we're going to be seeing Irishman, more rapidly available across different parts of the world as well, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're extremely busy at the moment, and definitely room for expansion globally. Absolutely. I mean, we're in 50 plus countries at the moment, so definitely expansion is on the key.
Absolutely, and 50 plus countries is nothing to be turning your nose up at. That's a phenomenal
Absolutely, yeah.
phenomenal network, and of course, Bernard and Rosemary doing one of the early adopters, and I suppose uh, leading from the front in terms of the Irish whiskey revolution, being there in '99, and certainly putting in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours to grow the portfolio and develop it into what it is, coming from the Hot Irishman, which I think is a Hot Irishman still available, isn't it?
In some places,
Yeah,
it is indeed. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I suppose that again was their first liquid.
yeah,
And then obviously Bernard branched out from there, and it was, I suppose, he was always had this passion of creating something different for Ireland, something unique. And I suppose, considering the Writer's Tears, known as, I suppose, the champagne blend of Irish whiskey. So that's the Writer's Tears, I suppose, focus more on the postil element. And I suppose people who doesn't know, a postil is your malted and unmalted barley. For anyone who doesn't know, when we keep saying pot still, or but yeah, no, it's definitely a lovely one.
absolutely. And let us know in the comments section if you are sipping along with us your thoughts on this whiskey, because I'm seeing a lot of people enjoying it. I'm also seeing a very large contingent this evening from the Kingdom. I don't know if there's just people in the Kingdom are happier to type on the keyboards than other parts of the country, but a lot of people in Kerry enjoying the whiskeys this evening. I suppose, Lena, from your point of view, are we going to be seeing both Irishman and Writer's Tears have had separate rebrands, both looking phenomenal,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Is there, I suppose, a bigger plan for more releases down the line and development of the portfolios, or are we going to see kind of maybe a change in tack, or is it all kind of steady Eddie at the moment?
It's all very busy at the moment, Matt. I suppose Bernard is always creating new innovations and always, I suppose, seeking new casks. And like at the moment, he's working on several projects. So he's quite busy doing that. And I mean, to date, I think we have 24 expressions released to date. So we are constantly innovation, constantly selecting new casks. And I suppose to date, we have amazing expressions. And I suppose Bernard's always keeping on top of things with new cast releases. So there's always something going on in the background.
Exactly. And I suppose that we're going to see I suppose there's the annual kind of cast strength releases and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I presume we're going to see all of it now translated into the new packaging and reflect that kind of new look and feel, because I, for one, am the two different rebrands with kind of two different ideas and executed absolutely fantastically. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they're loving the flavor and the fact that it doesn't taste like a 40% whiskey, which I think people are very, very happy about. Again, I can't stop smelling this. Is a phenomenal nose on
The
this.
nose is, I mean, ideally, somebody said they're pears, and you initially get that wonderful pears on the nose, and it's lovely and fruity, but it's just, even the taste is just impeccable. That wonderful pot still base of spice and peppercorn, but then you have your lovely fruity vanilla notes coming in there, and it's just so easy to drink.
Absolutely fantastic. And I suppose if people are looking for more information on the brand, is there a website or social media channels that we might be able to look it up on?
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously our Instagram page, Writer's Tears, or the Irishman, or indeed go onto our website at Walsh Whisky. The guys are always there to answer any questions, or any messages comes in, we always reply them. Dara's always busy there in the background, so no message doesn't get unread,
Exactly. And just to clarify, Walsh Whisky is the parent of Writer's Tears and Irishman, just for anyone that doesn't know out there. So that's where Bernard sits and looks after both portfolios.
Absolutely. As I said at the start, we the two expressions, you have your Writer's Tears and the Irishman. We focus heavily on the single malt element for the Irishman and the pot still element for the Writer's Tears, and also under the one portfolio, yes, for Walsh Whisky.
Absolutely fantastic. Lena, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm delighted to see how excited people are in the comment section, because this is a huge favorite of mine, and I'm loving the new rebrand. Thank you so much for your time. And I think a few of the guys are going to be seeing you in the airport at least sometime soon. So
absolutely, for sure. Thanks, Matt, for having me, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So we're going from this evening is filled with whiskeys I love. So next I am going to be joined by a fantastic brand ambassador, Miss Stephanie Shen, coming from Quintessential Brands, looking after the Dubliner Irish whiskey, and we're going to be talking about the smoked stout beer cask edition. So Stephanie, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I put on my virtual background because I'm in the middle of redecorating my house. So you're going to miss like maybe 40% of my excessive hand gestures.
That's
so,
okay.
It's not 100% of the Stephanie Shen experience, but I hope enough of it will come.
It's okay. Half the band has showed up for the experience. That's fine.
Yeah.
People at home won't know this, but we almost could have done this in the same room, because you are a nearby neighbor of mine, which we should have coordinated better on this, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
You could have just zoomed in from the corner over here. It would have been fine.
Just like casually like creeping in the side of your screen.
Exactly. So for those at home that don't know you and don't know the brand, why don't you give us a little download on who you are and what you do? And I'm going to pour Dram number 2 over a gall. And just to have my glass filled, because I don't like sitting around with people not having their glasses filled. So who are you, Stephanie? What do you do?
So I am Stephanie Shen. I am the global brand ambassador for the Dublin Liberties Distillery. So underneath that umbrella from the distillery, which is based in the Liberties in the heart of Dublin, we've got 3 brands. So we have Dead Rabbit Irish Whiskey. We also have the Liberties Whiskey range. And then obviously I'm here today to talk about Dubliner. So my background was actually in bartending. So I worked in bars for about 10 years. And then this fantastic opportunity came up, and they were like, do you like whiskey? I was like, yes. They were like, do you like talking to people? I was like, yes. They were like, okay, you're hired. So I'm living the dream where I get to just, I feel like how I assume a lot of religious people feel when they have a mission in life, or they have to go and preach about something. I'm like, have you heard about how amazing Irish whiskey is? So
I always say you got to spread the good word of Irish whiskey. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So I found my calling, So that's me in a nutshell. Really enthusiastic about Irish whiskey. And so obviously today I'm here to talk about, I was like gesturing wildly off screen, and okay, if I do this, then you'll be able to see it, about the Dubliner Smoked Stout Beer Cask Edition. So this is a phenomenal whiskey. I think it's really, really delicious. One of my favorites in the range. underneath that umbrella, as I said, we've got 3 brands. So the main brand that I'm talking about today is the Dubliner brand, and the kind of core whiskey of that brand is our 3-year-old bourbon cask. So it is, I always say this is like the Ronseal of the group. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It is delicious, accessible, easy drinking. So it's a 3-year-old blend of grain and malt, really high on the grain side of things. It's bottled at 40% ABV, and it is exclusively bourbon cask finish. So you've got all of those really lovely notes that you typically find in a bourbon finish. So you've got a lot of vanilla, caramel, a lot of green apple. And what we decided to do is we would take that and we wanted to kind of funkify it a little bit. So we decided to pair up with a local brewery known as Rascals Brewery. So anyone who's into beer at all, if you haven't heard of or tried any of their beers, you absolutely should. So they're a really funky experimental kind of brewery, and they're located in Dublin as well. And so essentially we did like a cask exchange. So we handed them 10 casks, they filled it with beer, they aged the beer in our Dubliner bourbon cask barrels, took the beer out, and then gave the barrels back to us. And this is where this lovely sweet liquid was born.
I'm gonna pull up this picture here. You keep talking. I'm just gonna give people a little look and see the Rascals background there and the lovely new bottle.
What I mean, I guess, like, I'm not okay. So this is going to sound pretty terrible. I'm not a massive beer drinker, so my beer knowledge is very limited. But I do have all of the beer nerd facts for anyone who is interested in them. So the beer that they used when they aged their beer in our casks and then took it out, they canned it. You can buy the cans. It's called the Big Smoke. So it's actually 7.8% ABV, which is pretty high for a beer, and it's an imperial stout. So they just finished it for a few weeks in our cask and gave it back to us. So the malts that they use a smoked malt, hence the name Big Smoke. But they also used Morris Otter, Cara Gold, chocolate wheat.
You're nailing the malts. Keep going. Yeah.
Yes. This one's really gonna stump me. Tomified barley.
Terrified, yeah.
Terrified. Okay, so right, sneaky notes here. They're secretly on my screen, but they're so tiny that I'm having difficulty reading.
It's okay. You keep going. I'll help where I can.
Thank you. And then we're also using chocolate malt, and then the hops we're using are Columbia, Magnum, and Bitter Gold. Yeah. And if anyone is interested in the yeast, it is called Imperial Joystick, which I thought was an April Fool's, but apparently that's the actual yeast name.
I mean, they get very inventive in beer yeasts naming. The whiskey industry tends to use like 2 types of yeast, and they're very MX strain and M. That's it. Usually, so
we need to like develop our yeast naming capabilities, because the beer guys, they have us beat, you know.
Exactly.
So I mean,
I'm gonna hop into this while you keep telling us about it. So.
Absolutely. Well, so my next transitional segment, which is obviously very choppy because I chose to use virtual backgrounds today, it is straight into the flavor. So this is why I love this whiskey. So it's only 40% ABV, but with that, I guess the extra aging from the cask, so it sits. They say between 3 to 6 months, but the average time for this was probably about 4 months per barrel. So it's sitting in those Big Smoke seasoned barrels for about 4 months. Then we take it out, and I feel like that's added just a lot of complexity into our base level liquid. So this one definitely brings a lot more. I mean, there's obviously more malt. There's very heavy chocolate. There's vanilla. You're also getting that little bit of smoke comes in only on the palate, less so on the nose, I find. It's kind of like a smoky banana custard on the palate. So that's why I love this one, because it's like dessert in a glass. It's really delicious.
Absolutely. Just while I invite people to taste it and let us know what you're tasting in the comments section, I do want to point out that I did whip out a lovely Dubliner Rascals coffee stout bottle, which the reason I want to point this out so much is that you too have gone through a very sexy rebrand.
Yes.
Do you want to pull up your new Rascals bottle, and we'll see the little side by side? Lovely little screen printed bottle there with your little footer label. I'm in love with this new rebrand. You've hit a lot of the design qualities that I like in a new whiskey bottle. So I presume received very well, rolling out across the world at the moment.
Yes. So I mean, when you're in a global lockdown, I guess what else are you going to do? You're going to try and like figure some stuff out. And so what we realized in the company was that the Dubliner brand has been around for a while, even before we had it, and it just felt like the design was a little bit dated. And we're a whiskey that's called Dubliner, so we should represent the spirit of what it's like to live in Dublin. And we are not drinking pints with leprechauns in the bar with a twee cap on. Like, Dublin is really, really diverse now. It's really energetic. It's very creative. And so there was a huge amount of work put into trying to embody what Dublin is today. And so I'm in love with the branding. It's from all accounts, it's gone very, very well. I think it's really popular in Australia in particular. They're like loving how it's going down. So yeah, I think it's much more fitting, especially because we opened our distillery. Our distilling team is really young. They're all kind of like fresh-faced distillers. They're all, really badass. And it's just, we can't have a distillery in the middle of Dublin city centre in 2022 and still be pushing, leprechauns and shamrocks, etc., etc. It doesn't fit the vibe, I don't think.
No, Dermot wants to know if he is drinking in tweed cap. Is he out of date?
You're the exception, Dermot.
So I'm very much enjoying this whiskey. Actually, I poured it on my hands and kind of rubbed off the alcohol, and it's incredibly malty when I get through the whiskey. And it's actually very delightful to get behind that whiskey and get some of the flavors back. But delightful nose, 40% alcohol, as you said. Of course, you can visit the distillery if you're bopping around Dublin 8. You want to make it to Newmarket Square. There's an aloft right beside you now, and if you're coming in, Tina, I know you're not watching this till tomorrow morning, but if you're coming in from Germany, you can stay right beside the distillery. Look at the roof. I say look at the roof. You can stay above it and look at the roof.
Look down.
But, exactly. There's area on the roof that the staff can go to, but there's nothing up there. They haven't put a sky garden up there yet. That's all I want.
Not yet. Well, I'm pushing for. I'm like, hey guys, like, can we not just put like the world's tiniest still up there? They're like, Steph, stop. Every time I find a spare bit of space in the distillery, I'm like, how do you guys feel about another tiny still that we can throw in here just for experimental? So I'm not allowed to give suggestions in the office anymore. But maybe if everyone who comes to the distillery asks for a little tiny still on the roof, we can make it happen.
And what would you make in the tiny still on the roof, Stephanie?
Well, so at Dublin Liberties Distillery, the only thing that we're making at the moment, just because we're kind of trying to get up on our feet, because we only opened 2019, so we're focusing on triple distilled Irish single malt. So I just would like to have an extra still for the experimentational aspect. So I'd love to play around with some other grains, just because if you have a distillery, you shouldn't be all like, ooh. But obviously, like we're at the very, very beginning of our whiskey journey. So at the moment, the priority is to kind of nail and perfect what we're doing, put down enough stock so that hopefully in the future we get to play around with more stuff. But yeah, I'm gunning for tiny still somewhere in the distillery.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Tiny still, Stephanie Shen did it. All right. And Shen, you're finding yourself across the world. I know you were in Sweden there last week on the lovely Viking cruise out into the sea outside of Sweden, and the lovely duty-free zones where you get locked on a ship with very thirsty whiskey enthusiasts and consumers. How was that? A show I've always wanted to go to, by the way, and have yet to go to. It's an invite-only show for producers, so it's one I'm geared for, but I've yet to get to.
Well, it was incredible. I'm so sorry, but I just think everybody, if you have a boat, it is genius to lock people in a boat, force them to drink whiskey, and then be like, you can get it cheaper because we're out in international waters. It's genius. Like, everybody should do it. But it was very, very cool.
I mean, you say boat. It was like a cruise ship.
Oh, sorry, cruise ship.
It's not like a little fishing thingy.
There was a lot of like finger wagging. It's like, Steph, you can't say boat. It is a ship.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. But like, we're all here on the water. We're all drinking whiskey together. And you can see, okay, so I had never been to Sweden before. But we're sailing through the fjords. We're sailing through all of these little tiny islands. It was so nice, and we were really lucky because apparently every year they host it in February, but this year because of lockdowns and restrictions and all that stuff, they pushed it out to April, and so it was actually beautiful weather. So we were there.
Much warmer in April than February.
Yeah, the guys were like, "Oh, there's snow on the ground. It's like it is windy." Whereas like we were able to go up on deck. It was like almost like it was like being on holidays. I guess like I'd never been on a cruise ship before, hence my use of the word boat. So I was very fascinated by the fact that you could go up on deck and see everything. The weather was beautiful. There was some beautiful liquids at the event as well. It was, if you're ever in like just super casually in Sweden in a February and you're like, what will I do? You should definitely try, because you can get the whiskeys for so much cheaper. And like, who doesn't want to be locked on a ship?
I would say less expensive. Let's not premiumize ourselves. It's just tax-free, less expensive.
It's tax-free. Yes, it's tax-free. Yeah. So yes,
that's what you do. You go into national waters and just buy all your booze.
Yeah.
So no, absolutely fantastic. Stephanie, if people are looking to find out more information on the lovely brands that you represent, where should they be looking?
So the DLD.com is our kind of main hub for all of the brands that I spoke about. So if there was another one you were interested in, you wanted to have a look, it's also our e-commerce shop. So if you're in Ireland, you can order it and it'll be delivered straight to your door. And then if you wanted to just kind of find out more specifically about Dubliner, I'd say the best place to go is our Instagram, which is at Dubliner Whisky. And if you really wanted to check out the website, it's also dublinerwhiskey.com.
Fantastic. Before you go, Indy has dropped in to say hello. So let me go grab her.
Oh, dogs. I don't know if anyone else is as excited about this.
She drops into some of the computer around. Now, Stephanie, people won't know, but Stephanie and myself go for dog walks down at the local beach. So what's over here? What's this?
Hi, Indy.
Okay, well, very unsure where all these voices are coming from. She makes appearances on different live streams, but she was begging me for, I don't know what she was actually begging me for, but throw the ball or something. But she's she's a good little collie, tiny thing.
Aww. Well, hello.
But yeah, exactly. We'll see you and your dog for some walks now on the weekend. So awesome. Stephanie, Shen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And of course, remember, guys, if you have enjoyed the whiskeys so far, I know she's very excited about the whiskeys. If you've enjoyed the whiskey so far, there will be a promo code being dropped into your inbox if you are a 3 Drams subscriber, and you'll be able to get them at a lower price point. Not cheaper, but at a lower price point. I know Indy's very excited about these lower price points. And Stephanie, thank you so much. Guys, in the comments section, do remember to let us know towards the end what you're enjoying, what your favorite profiles are, because we love seeing them. I know she really wants my attention. Anyway, Stephanie, thank you so much. I have loved having you on the show and talking about your fantastic whiskeys.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. I am delighted to be moving to our third whiskey of the evening, a brand that I have loved since the first moment I came across this bottle. And I am joined by Sarah Kennedy, who I believe's title is brand ambassador, but really a one-woman band, an absolute force upon herself. Sarah Kennedy from McConnell's Irish Whiskey. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great, Matt. How are you? Finally getting on a live show with you. I haven't ever been live with you before, so
that's actually true. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of work together, but not on a live show. So I'm delighted to have you here. I suppose for the people out there that don't know you and don't know the brand, I am going to pour my little whiskey here. But why don't you give us a little rundown of who you are, what you do, and what is McConnell's Irish Whiskey?
Okay, so I'm Sarah. I'm the brand ambassador. You're right, Matt. That is my title. I've been with the company now for almost 2 years, which is really hard to believe because it feels like yesterday that I started with the brand. McConnell's relaunched the brand in March 2020. But
It was a good month. It was a good month.
It was a great month. It was perfect time to launch a brand. But we got there in the end.
Exactly.
But like everything, a lot of brands in Ireland, are revival brands. But McConnell's has a pretty unique story because it's a Belfast brand. And Belfast is an incredible city. It's hugely industrious. There is a huge history of Irish whiskey in Belfast, but it's pretty crazy that there's absolutely no distilleries in Belfast. Whenever you think that Belfast was one of the biggest producers of Irish whiskey back in the 1800s. And McConnell's was at the front of that with a few other brands, traded right from 1776 right up until the mid 1930s, whenever Prohibition, along with a number of large fires in bonded warehouse and in their distillery itself, and also just because of the decline in Irish whiskey due to the introduction of the Kofi stills. So McConnell's did close its doors in the mid 1930s. But if you look around Belfast City, if you ever come to visit, you'll see that McConnell's is on the walls in the city. There's a lot of memorabilia. There's some of the actual old whiskey bottles in Willie Jack's museum in Friend at Hand. And so we revived the brand because why not? It's an incredibly interesting brand with a huge history. And we're going to build our distillery here. And we should open our doors in the summer of 2023. And I think it's probably the worst kept secret in the whole of the Irish whiskey industry about where our distillery is going to be. But I still can't say it here. But everybody knows. But we will have a state-of-the-art distillery in a Victorian building in Belfast that is very exciting for us. We'll have tours. We'll also have a fully functional and operating distillery as well. But with McConnell's, we do have our one expression, which is our 5-year-old, which is what we're going to be tasting today.
So I'm going to pull up a little picture of it here. So you keep talking, and I'm just going to give you a little look at the bottle there.
It is a stunning bottle. Like everybody here on the show today, we're all very, very proud of our products and very proud of our bottle design. And I'm no different. I think the bottle is absolutely stunning. It has a lot of nods to history. The label itself is very much like the old McConnell's bottle from the 1800s. But there's a lot of elements of the bottle that are new and quite fun. If you see the bottle, it's shaped like a pill capsule. That is sort of a nod to the front of the bottle where doctors actually used to recommend McConnell's Irish whiskey, but we weren't allowed to put that on the bottle nowadays because...
Oh, I can't seem to wonder why. That seems very...
It's actually a strange reason why, and it's not because it's unhealthy as such. It's more because the doctors aren't around to approve our product anymore. So we can't really put their approval on our bottle. But we did shape the bottle to sort of a slight little nod to the product. And then also the little badge on the front, which is one of my favorite parts, is a nod to the docks and the shipbuilding, which is a huge part of Belfast's heritage. But the actual liquid itself, this is our core expression. This is the first product that we released. And yes, we have been trading for 2 years with this one expression for a multitude of reasons. One of them being COVID, the other being that we wanted to make sure it was the right timing for our distillery opening. And we just wanted to make sure that we got our foot on the ground with this product first before we started bringing out other expressions and start to really understand what the DNA of our brand is. So this is our first release, which I absolutely adore. I've been speaking about it now for nearly 2 years, and it's just my best friend, really. So it's a blend of Irish grain and Irish malt whiskies. It's 42% ABV. And it also, as a blended Irish, has an age statement of 5 years. And that was really just to add to some consistency, but also to give it that little bit extra time in the bourbon casks. It is a first fill ex-bourbon barrel that you're getting there. So on the nose and on the palate, you will get some of the traditional bourbon influence there. But also you do get some of those traditional Irish notes on there that people were saying, like fresh fruit, orchard apple, freshly cut melon, some stone fruits there as well. And also just a lovely peppery finish as well on there, which I absolutely adore. But it'd be interesting to hear yourself from Matt what you're getting on the nose, and also people in the comments.
Well, I think there's a lot coming through in the comments already. And I'm sure a lot of people will have their thoughts after the fact, but I mean, for me, the nose is that kind of like creamy, citrusy, little bit of wood spice in the background. It's a phenomenal. It's a very palatable and appetizing nose. This, it's not astringent at all. It's not anything kind of clawing to it. So it's definitely something that pulls me into the glass and has that little bit of wood influence in it as well. I'll say sláinte, and we can have a little sip. Again, for me, you're bringing in, there's a lot of fruitiness to it, more so than the nose kind of lets on. But again, that kind of the caramel toffee kind of influence comes through, and a little bit of that spiciness. I'm from day naught until now, huge fan of this whiskey. I think it's really versatile. I've made some banging Irish coffees with this. If anyone doesn't know, it's my favorite cocktail. It's the thing I make the most. So I have 2 bottles up here of the 2 other guests, and I'm well drank out of my McConnells as well at this point. So my apologies, Sarah.
No.
I should have been more prepared at this point. But I see Mike D asking, is it a pot still? And no, it was the answer. Sarah letting us know that it's a blend of grain and malt. For anyone that didn't hear, 42%. Is that correct, Sarah?
It is, yeah. It's 42% ABV, so it's just that a little bit higher than the 40%, but it does on the palate, it doesn't seem like a 42%. It is well rounded, and it also just has a little bit extra complexity and sort of rests on your palate a little longer. But I love having that 42% as well, because with a product in its category, as you said, the cocktail industry is pretty is massive in Ireland, and is really growing with Irish whiskey. And it just means that in a cocktail, the spirit really comes through as well.
Absolutely. I see Sam Grimes asking, is he getting banana on the nose, or is he mad? The fun thing about... Okay, go for it there, yeah.
I was at any tasting I do. I remember whenever I first started the industry, someone told me, don't say something like banana whenever you're doing a tasting, because it's pretty crazy. But to be honest, I'm going to be crazy and say that I get banana too. And a lot of people who I do tastings with, it's the first thing they say. And it's not necessarily a banana that you'd be eating, more like the banana that you would get from a flavor of a banana that would be added to it's an aroma that you get that is like almost that banana that's not like if you had a banana in the kitchen, but more like a banana flavor, like ice cream, like banana ice cream or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say that banana and pear are flip sides of the same esters. So usually if someone has pear or that kind of green orchard fruits on the tasting notes, some people will smell pear and someone smell banana. Again, it's just the chemical makeup of the same ester. So usually you won't ever smell the same 2 on the glass. It'll be a flip side of one or the other. So it could be one person dives their nose into this and gets a huge bouquet of pears, and then the next person is getting all bananas. Because for me, I'm not getting any bananas on this, but I'm definitely getting a hidden background of pears and orchard fruits and little apples and stuff as well. So it's nice to see. Again, everyone's taste and olfactory senses are very subjective. So I'm very much enjoying this, and a great comment as well from Sam, and I appreciate the questions coming in as well. A lot of people seeming to enjoy this. Kerry is lit up with people enjoying this. I'm seeing Keith saying it's all pear for him, and then Mike saying it's banana essence for him. So fantastic to be able to prove my point there.
Right.
in literally two following comments to each other. But yes, I'm very much enjoying this one, and I know that. Listen, we've talked about 2 different rebrands of those whiskies. As far as I know, there's no rebrand coming of McConnell's, but lots of, I suppose, new developments, the exciting times ahead. I'm also going to be listening and dip off camera for a second because my dog has brought me the ball like 13 times, so I'm going to throw it for her, but also listen to your answer.
So we aren't doing a rebrand of our product, but we have been working really tirelessly in the background on trying to really identify our brand DNA and coming up with little taglines, trademarks, making sure that we are personifying, Belfast City as what it is today. As Stephanie was saying, it makes a lot of sense that, things have come on a lot in the whole island of Ireland. And Belfast, like Dublin, is not, a rural city. It's very industrial, and it has been for a long, long time. And Belfast has went through its own troubled past as well. And it's only really pre-COVID, there was the vibrancy, the growth, everything, the culture in Belfast was really starting to rise and going up. A lot of positivity, a lot of travel and tourism. And we're going to start seeing that again. And that's what we wanted to show with our branding, which in sort of side by side with that, we are also developing a brand new website. So our website today is going to completely change, and we're going to relaunch that in May, so next month. And a web design project is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's been taking months to do this, and we're very excited about relaunching our website. And also on top of that, we have some new product development, which is really exciting for us because playing around with casks and playing around with experimentation, as the girls were saying, it was something that, we were just chomping at the bit to get at. We really wanted to start experimenting because we have some lovely liquids that we have to show everyone. And just in the lead up to our distillery and our own liquids being ready, which is going to take at least another 5 years until we can show you what's coming from our distillery. So we do have other liquids that we are going to be showcasing over the next year or so. But our next launch is going to be next month, which we're very excited about. And then further on in the year, there'll be another new product development, which also very excited about. So there's a lot in store for McConnell's. And as much as I have been screaming and shouting about our original 5-year-old McConnell's, which we absolutely adore and I love, we will have other products to speak about and other products to offer the market. But in spite of us having one product, we have been doing incredibly well internationally. Our CEO, John Kelly, started with us around this time last year from Walsh Distillery. Absolutely fantastic CEO. Get on really, really well with John. He's fabulous to work with. And we've just hired a new commercial director, Desi, who is just absolute hoot. Like, I can't wait for you to meet him, Matt, because you'll get on like a house on fire with Desi. And we also have a new financial officer as well. So, and we have Roy, who's been there from day one. So we have 5 in our team now, which we're a solid 5-member team, and we're only just going to grow. We're hiring a new graduate and a new supply chain manager. So just everything's to come for McConnell's.
So everything's a go in Belfast.
Yeah, that's it. Belfast, just watch this space. We've definitely not been a big player in Irish whiskey for many, many years, but there's lots to come for Belfast. I know that there's other distilleries in plan too, and a lot going on in our city. Absolutely.
I know that it's a lot of noise being made and a lot of rattling going on, rattling of cages and new products coming out from Belfast. And I think you do have some good tourism initiatives as well going on in Belfast that hopefully when the distillery is opened, wherever that location may be, we don't know where this location is, but wherever this location may be, that there'll be great kind of tourism opportunities there to visit and see the visitor center and that kind of thing as well. I presume that's all kind of built into the plans.
Mm-hmm. Tourism is going to be a huge part of it. Obviously we'll have our distillery there, but we will have a blending room, a cocktail room, a tour experience. It will be a tourist attraction. But it will also be incredible for the people of Belfast around North Belfast, which is where we're going to be, because North Belfast has really had its ups and downs, and it does need some redevelopment and some investment. It's so close to the city, absolutely like a stone's throw, less than a mile away from the city centre, where the city centre of Belfast, if anyone's been there in recent years, is starting to grow. The hospitality, restaurant trade, mixologists, everything is just very exciting in Belfast. So having a distillery there, having a home, also having somewhere that we can take people from the hospitality industry who have been absolutely amazing to me, by the way. Like, I have been welcomed with open arms into the industry, which I'm just absolutely humbled by. And it would be great to be able to bring some of those wonderful hospitality guys and girls up to the distillery and have somewhere to bring them and show them what's to come next for us, really.
Absolutely fantastic. If people do want to find you online and on socials in your current form of a website, because I know the lovely new website is coming, where should they be looking?
So the website won't change. It will still be the same URL. It's McConnellsIrishWhisky.com, and it's whiskey without the E. So you'll still be able to get to our website if you put the E in there accidentally, but it is McConnellsIrishWhisky.com. At the minute, it is wonderful. It's still our brand, but we are going to make it absolutely our rock. It's going to be our DNA, everything that is McConnell's, and everything that is Belfast as well. And also our social media. We have 2 social medias, mainly because we have a large footprint in the US, is McConnell's Irish Whiskey without the E, and McConnell's Irish Whiskey _IRL for McConnell's Irish Whiskey Ireland. So you'll find all of the wonderful things coming up there. You'll see our new release sort of teasers coming out next week. And then hopefully you'll see the launch of our brand new website in the next month or so.
Phenomenal. I love it. Thank you so much. I apologize. My dog is whining at me.
You definitely have a good filter for noise, because I can't hear apps at all.
Yes, this is why I have a microphone, because it's very directional. I know she's very upset with me now. Okay, look, yeah, okay.
I feel like I know her, Matt.
This is what she wanted, right? This is what she wanted. Anyway, in the comments section, please do let us know what your favorite whiskeys of the evening have been in your 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, so on order. We love seeing them because everyone is super subjective as to what they've loved. Of course, there will be that promo code sent to your inbox in about 4 minutes. So that goes out automatically from the guys at Irish Malts, round 3. They will be able to ship whiskey directly to your door all across the world where possible, where it is legally allowed to do so. Looking at you, the States. There's so many strange rules in the States, but sure, look, we'll do our best. Many thanks, of course, to Lena, Stephanie, of course, yourself, Sarah. Our first time having an all-female guest panel, so I'm absolutely delighted to have had you here. And to the O'Donovan brothers and the team at Irish Malts and 3 Drams, a very big thank you. But Sarah, thank you so much for your time and introducing us to the wonderful world of McConnell's Irish Whiskey.
Thanks for having me on, Matt. Appreciate it so much.
Not a problem.